My girlfriend made fun of me because I have a weak character and went to clubs and cheated on me. I couldn't do anything until this moment. I work in IT. That sentence alone probably gives you a full picture. Long hours behind a desk, pale skin from lack of sun, posture permanently shaped by office chairs. And yeah, I've got the long hair, the glasses, the extra weight from years of sitting and stress snacking. The only cardio I get is when I rush to close my tabs before screen sharing. I know what I look like. People don't need to remind me. But I'm not ashamed of it. Not exactly. I just accepted it. The same way you accept gravity or traffic. You don't like it, but it's part of the world. What I never really accepted, until recently, was how other people treated me because of it. Especially her. Her name was Dasha. She moved in with me about 8 months ago. At first, it made sense. She needed a place, I had space, and truth be told, I liked the idea of coming home to someone. Someone warm. Someone beautiful. And Dasha was beautiful. Not Instagram filter beautiful. Real life head-turning makes you want to fix your posture beautiful. When we first started dating, I felt lucky. Like I'd somehow won a lottery I didn't even buy a ticket for. But over time, that feeling faded, because it became clear she didn't feel lucky. She felt entitled. She never said it directly, but it was in the way she sighed every time I laughed at my own joke, the way she rolled her eyes when I asked her to watch a movie I liked, the way she used phrases like, "Ugh, you're such a guy," or "You'd never understand, you just sit behind a screen all day." It was in how she told people, jokingly, that I was hopelessly sweet, but said hopeless with a little too much emphasis. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but my friends noticed. One of them, Dennis, came over one evening and watched her completely ignore me during dinner. Later, when she left to take a girl call in the bedroom, he leaned in and whispered, "She doesn't respect you, bro, at all." I laughed it off, defended her. "She's just tired," I said. "She works hard." But the truth was, she didn't. She worked a bit, went out a lot, and mostly treated our apartment like a hotel with free utilities and a boyfriend who wouldn't question anything. Because I didn't. Not for a long time. I'm not confrontational. Never have been. Growing up, I was a nice kid. The quiet one. The one teachers loved and classmates ignored. So even when things got bad, when she started mocking the way I dress, or calling me soft in front of her friends, I kept smiling. I told myself, "You're just lucky she's here. Be patient. She'll see your value eventually." But she didn't, and I started to see it too. She went out a lot. At first, it was just weekends, then weekdays, then random girls' nights that stretched until 4 a.m. She rarely asked if I wanted to join, rarely even told me where she was going. She'd come home smelling like perfume and cigarettes and someone else's cologne. I could tell. I could always tell. Still, I said nothing. I kept the apartment clean. Even hired a cleaning service, so she wouldn't have to deal with my snack wrappers or empty Red Bulls near the desk. I tried to make her life easy. But the easier I made it, the more invisible I became. The worst part? She knew I wouldn't leave. She counted on it. She knew I wouldn't yell. Wouldn't throw her out, wouldn't demand loyalty or kindness, because that's who I was. A guy in glasses behind a glowing screen. Harmless, predictable, replaceable, and maybe she was right. Until one day, everything changed. It started with a message from Dennis. Saw Dasha last night. Pretty sure she didn't see me. She came out of a building with 2 guys. Didn't look like just friends. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not shocked, not even hurt. Just numb. Like I already knew, and now the universe was just confirming it. That night, she went out again. Same routine. Tight dress. Heavy makeup. Quick kiss on the cheek, like I was her brother, not her boyfriend. "I'll be late," she said, grabbing her purse. "Don't wait up." I nodded. Sure. Then I followed her. For the first time in months, I moved, not on a keyboard, not behind a screen, in real life, in silence. And what I saw that night, it erased any doubt I had left. She wasn't just partying. She was hunting. drinks, laughs, flirting with men who didn't even pretend to know her name. And when she stumbled out of that club, laughing in the arms of one guy, and then kissing another seconds later, I didn't feel rage. I felt relief, because now I had permission. Permission to leave, to stop shrinking myself just to be tolerated, to stop paying for love with silence and comfort with obedience. I didn't go home that night. I waited until the next morning, packed a backpack, laptop charger, 3 shirts, 2 hoodies. I canceled the cleaning service, disabled her card, sent a notice to the landlord, and I left. No note, no call, no goodbye. Just one final line of code in my head. I didn't take much with me. 1 backpack, a laptop, a few shirts, chargers, and a toothbrush I bought at the gas station on my way out of town. That was it. No mementos, no photos, no little note she used to leave me months ago, back when she still pretended to care. I left all of it, not just because I didn't want it, but because none of it felt like it was ever really mine. Not the apartment, not the couch we used to sit on, not even the bed we shared. It had all become hers. Her space, her rules, her world, and I had been a guest in it, a quiet, paying guest. The drive out of the city was long. It didn't matter where I was going, only that I was going away. I didn't tell anyone except Dennis. I sent him a short message. I'm out. I'm done. Thank you. He replied within seconds. Proud of you, bro. About time. That meant more than I expected. Not because I needed approval, but because I realized, for the first time in a long time, that someone actually saw me. Not as a joke, not as a doormat, just as a man making a decision. I settled in a small rental apartment in another city. Nothing fancy. 1 room, white walls, a squeaky bed, a tiny desk that barely held my laptop. But it was mine. The silence was different there. It wasn't cold. It wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. No more tiptoeing around someone's mood. No more wondering who she was texting. No more fake goodnights or dry kisses that felt like obligations. Just quiet. And for the first time in months, I could hear my own thoughts again. The first few days were strange. I still expected to hear the sound of her heels in the hallway. Still expected a message like, "Where are you? What the hell? You're so dramatic." But none came. No missed calls. No voicemails. No accusations. No guilt traps. Just silence. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. She didn't look for me, because she never really saw me in the first place. I was an accessory, a stable background to her unstable lifestyle, a paycheck with arms and zero resistance. And now that I was gone, she replaced me the way you'd replace a light bulb, quickly, efficiently, without much thought. I didn't cry. People expect that once you're alone, you break down. But I didn't, because when you've been emotionally exhausted for so long, finally stepping out of the storm doesn't feel like sadness. It feels like oxygen. I went for a walk that evening. New city, new streets. No one staring at me. No one laughing behind my back. Just lights and people, and the sound of everything I hadn't noticed in a while. I bought a sandwich from a small deli and sat on a bench in the cold, watching strangers pass. And it hit me. This was freedom. Not flashy. Not loud. Just mine. The next morning, I started working remotely again. Same job. Same clients. Same keyboard. But it felt different. Because now I wasn't working to fund someone else's happiness. I was working for me. To rebuild. To breathe. To remind myself that I wasn't just a placeholder in someone else's story. Some people called what I did running away. Let them. They didn't know the weight I carried. They didn't know what it was like to be spoken to like you're a burden every day in your own home. They didn't know how much it takes to leave without screaming, without burning the place down, to walk away with quiet dignity and a zip backpack. I left everything behind. But somehow, for the first time in a long time, I felt full. Not of rage, not of sadness, but of clarity. She had my past, but I had my future, and I wasn't about to waste another minute of it. The first week in the new city passed in a blur. I worked, ate, slept, walked, repeat. Nothing dramatic, nothing special. Just a kind of slow routine that feels meaningless until you remember what life used to be like. No yelling, no passive-aggressive jokes, no sighs from across the room when I forgot to take out the trash. Just me, and for a while, I didn't know what to do with that. The silence was the strangest part. At first, it felt empty, but not for long, because it wasn't really silence. It was space. Space to think, to breathe, to feel things without having to explain or apologize for them. I started noticing small details again. The way light fell across the kitchen table in the morning, the texture of warm bread from the local bakery, the sound of the city breathing at night just outside my window. None of it felt exciting, but it felt real. I used to feel like a background character in my own life. Now, I felt like I was finally stepping into the main role, not with a spotlight, but with quiet presence. I started to cook for myself, not microwave garbage or takeout, but real food. Messy, uneven, too salty at first, but mine. I cleaned my space without anyone expecting it. I played music I actually liked, and sometimes I danced, not well, but with freedom, in the middle of the living room where no one could judge me. Not even her, especially not her. She didn't reach out. Not once. Not a single message asking where I was or why I left. And it used to bother me, the idea that I could vanish so easily and not be missed. But now, it felt like proof that I'd made the right choice. Because love doesn't go silent overnight. Not real love. And whatever we had, it wasn't that. One night, I dreamed of her. In the dream, we were in the apartment again. She was complaining about something I'd done. The way I left cables on the floor, or how I chewed too loudly when I was focused on code. But this time, I didn't just stand there. I turned around and said, "You don't love me. You love the way I don't argue." She didn't respond. She just looked at me, confused, almost scared, and I walked out. I woke up in a sweat, heart pounding. Then I laughed, because even in my dreams, I was finally telling the truth. The next day, I got a message from an unknown number. At first, I thought it might be her, but it wasn't. It was from a client, someone who'd been referred to me by a developer I'd worked with years ago. They needed back-end help, urgent, paid well. I took the job without hesitation. And suddenly, just like that, I was busy again, not as an escape, but as an investment, in myself, in my time, in something I could actually build. I upgraded my setup, got a second monitor, a proper chair, a new mechanical keyboard that clicked just right. And as I worked, I realized something. This life, this quiet, messy, ordinary life, didn't need to be flashy. It just needed to be mine. I wasn't rich. I wasn't healed. But I was clean. Clean from drama. Clean from disrespect. Clean from the feeling that I needed to perform just to keep someone around. Some nights, I still thought about her. Not because I missed her, but because I couldn't believe I let someone treat me like that for so long. And maybe that was the worst part. Not the betrayal, not the lies, but the way I accepted it. Quietly, repeatedly, because I thought it was the best I could get. Now I know better. Now I know peace. And peace? Peace doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't insult you when you fail. It doesn't flirt with strangers to feel powerful. It just stays. And I've decided. So will I. It took 3 weeks. 22 days, to be exact. That's how long it took for her to realize I was gone. Not just out running errands. Not working late. Not giving her space. Gone. The message came late at night. Just a single line. "Where are you?" I stared at it for a long time. No hello. No apology. Just 3 words. Like I was late picking her up from some party I was never invited to. I didn't reply. Not right away. I let the screen dim, put the phone down, sat in the quiet of my small apartment, and listened to the sound of my breathing. And you know what? It didn't speed up. I wasn't anxious, wasn't tempted, wasn't torn. I felt still. She messaged again an hour later. "Why are you doing this?" That one made me laugh. Quietly, bitterly. As if I'd been the one disappearing for nights at a time. As if I'd been the one making her feel like a burden in her own home. As if I had broken something. But I knew better now. I wasn't reacting. I was choosing. The next morning, I replied. Short, calm, final. You knew what you were doing. Now you know what it costs. She didn't answer. Not that day. Not the next. But on the third day, she tried to call. I let it ring. She called again, this time from a different number. Blocked it. Then came the email. I was scared, okay? I didn't know how to love someone like you. I read it 3 times. Someone like me. What does that even mean? Someone who didn't fight back? Someone who stayed loyal even when treated like an afterthought? She didn't love me. She loved that I was easy to ignore. That night, I walked to the little cafe near my apartment. The barista there knew my order already. Not because we talked much, but because I kept showing up. Consistent. Quiet. I liked that. Being remembered for existing, not for being entertaining. I sat by the window, coffee in hand, watching cars pass under the streetlights. No noise, no tension, just peace. And in that moment, I promised myself, I would never go back to anything that made me question my worth again. She emailed again 2 days later, this time longer. It was a list, almost a mixture of memories and guilt and carefully placed compliments. You were the kindest person I ever met. You never judged me. You were always there. Exactly. That was the problem. I was always there, even when she wasn't. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because some conversations end better in silence. Dennis checked in a few days later. She asked around, wants to know where you are. I told him not to answer. He didn't. Real friends understand that distance isn't about running away. Sometimes it's about not being found by the wrong person twice. Weeks passed. She faded. Not instantly, but slowly. Like a smell that used to cling to your clothes, but eventually disappears in clean air. And I finally understood something. People like her don't miss you. They miss what you gave them. Time, money, attention, silence. And when that's gone, they come crawling, not for you, but for the comfort they lost. But me? I didn't lose comfort. I found it. And this time, I'm keeping it. By the time she showed up in person, I had already buried the version of myself who would have opened the door. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon. Sunlight drifted through the window. I had a half-finished bowl of cereal on the table, code running on the screen, and a playlist humming low in the background. I heard the knock. Firm. Familiar. I already knew who it was. No one else knocked like that. I didn't rush. Didn't hesitate either. I walked to the door, took a deep breath, and opened it. There she was. Same hair, same eyes, same posture. Confident but slightly tilted, like she wasn't sure how to stand in front of me now. Hi, she said. I didn't say anything. She glanced past me into the apartment. I could see her taking it in. The clean floor, the soft light, the quiet. She looked different in this space. Smaller, less sure. I've been trying to reach you, she said. I nodded. I know. She bit her lip, waited for me to invite her in. I didn't. I was wrong, she said after a long silence. Still, I didn't move. I thought I could find better, she continued. Someone more exciting. Someone who would challenge me. But all I found were people who used me, lied to me, treated me like decoration. I raised an eyebrow. Sounds familiar. She winced. I didn't see it before. What you gave me. What you were. Now I spoke. Because I wasn't loud enough. She shook her head. Because I wasn't ready to appreciate quiet strength. I leaned against the doorframe. And now you are? She stepped forward slightly. I miss us. There is no us, I said calmly. There was a version of me who tolerated being disrespected, who stayed silent while you mocked me in front of your friends, who smiled while dying inside. I paused. He's gone. She looked like she wanted to cry, but I wasn't moved. Not because I hated her, I didn't, but because I finally loved myself more than I feared being alone. She tried again. Can we at least talk? I opened the door a little wider, not to let her in, but to gesture outside. We just did. She stepped back, realized I wasn't bluffing. Her voice cracked. I didn't think you'd actually leave. I know, I said. That was your mistake. After she left, I stood there for a long time, staring down the hall where she'd disappeared. Then I closed the door, not angrily, not with satisfaction, just peacefully. It was the sound of a boundary being honored by me. Later that night, Dennis texted. She showed up at your place, huh? Yeah, I replied. You good? Better than ever. People think strength looks like a raised voice or a slammed fist. But real strength? It's saying nothing when they expect you to beg. It's walking away when you know staying would be easier. It's choosing peace over familiarity. And I had done all three. She may have left me first, but I was the one who truly walked away. And this time, I wasn't looking back. After she left my doorstep, I made a promise to myself. No more checking social media. No more rereading her messages. No more wondering if she changed. Whatever growth she found, or claimed to, it wasn't mine to witness. And I didn't need to be part of her redemption arc. The apartment grew quieter over time. Not empty, just still. Still in a way I hadn't known I needed. I started sleeping better, cooking more, working smarter, not harder. I finally invested in a proper desk setup, clean cable management, a plant in the corner, which to my surprise, I didn't kill. Every piece of the space began to feel like mine. Chosen, earned, lived in. Sometimes I'd sit by the window with tea and just watch the street. No noise, no distraction, just a movement of life outside and the calm of mine inside. People underestimate peace. They think it's boring. But they've never had their thoughts not interrupted by anxiety. They've never had silence that didn't carry tension. This wasn't boring. It was sacred. I picked up new freelance work, met new clients. One of them, a UX designer named Karina, was sharp, funny, and kind. We worked on 2 projects together before she ever asked me anything personal. When she did, it wasn't forced. It was quiet, honest. She asked why I moved cities. I told her I needed a clean start. She didn't press, just nodded like she understood. Sometimes that's all you want. Someone who doesn't need all the details to respect the decision. We grabbed coffee after the 3rd project. Nothing romantic. Not yet. Just 2 people sharing a moment that wasn't heavy. That didn't feel like compromise. That didn't feel like strategy. It felt easy. I'd forgotten what that felt like. Back home, I got an email from my old landlord. He said the apartment had officially been cleared out. She'd moved her stuff, left the keys. No damage. No note. Just like that, the last shared thread had been cut. I stared at the message and didn't feel a thing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just closure. The clean kind. That night, I looked around my new place. There were no ghosts in the corners. No memories waiting to pull me back. No furniture that remembered what I tolerated. Just a man, a desk, and a quiet he built with his own hands. She'll never know the version of me that grew here. The one who doesn't flinch when challenged. The one who doesn't wait for permission to leave. The one who won't settle for being tolerated just to be called loved. And that's okay, because his version, he was never meant for her. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't success or silence. It's peace. Peace she never expected you to find without her. I never expected her to give up so easily. People like her don't like losing control, especially over someone they were so sure would never leave. So when the silence stretched into a full month, I thought maybe, finally, she got it. I was wrong. It started small again. A private message on a platform I hadn't used in ages. Just a wave emoji. That was it. Not even a word, just a digital nudge, like she wanted to remind me she still existed. I didn't answer. She followed it up a day later. I hope you're okay. I was more than okay. But I didn't need her to know that. I didn't need her involved in any version of my well-being. The next week, she messaged Dennis. He forwarded it to me without commentary. Can you just tell him I'm not mad? I just want to talk. That line made me laugh, really laugh. For the first time in a while, she wasn't mad. Of course not. She didn't get a chance to be. She'd played a game thinking I didn't have the guts to fold my hand and walk away from the table. And now she was left with the echo of her own moves. Dennis asked, "Want me to say anything back?" "No," I said. "Let her sit in the quiet." He nodded. "She doesn't like quiet." "I know. There's a power in stillness, one I never understood when I was with her. Back then, stillness meant weakness. It meant being passive. Being the guy who never speaks up, never pushes back. But now, stillness is strength, the ability to not react, to let chaos pass you by like wind through leaves, to choose silence, not because you're afraid, but because there's nothing left to say. Karina and I went for dinner a few nights later. Nothing formal. We ordered too much food and shared it like old friends. She told me about a failed startup she'd left behind. I told her about an apartment I'd escaped. She didn't pry. She just listened. And I realized something. I didn't feel like I had to defend my past anymore. Didn't feel like I had to justify my scars. I was just me, messy, honest, healing. And that was enough. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I pulled out an old notebook I hadn't touched since the move. It had pages of notes from when I still lived with her. Back then, I used it to track projects, reminders, and sometimes how many days she'd been gone in a row. I flipped to the last written page. It was dated 2 months before I left. At the top, I'd written, "What am I even waiting for?" Below it, nothing. Blank space. I grabbed a pen and answered myself. I was waiting for the courage. Now I live in it. I tore the page out, burned it in the sink, watched the ash disappear down the drain, and I felt nothing. Not sorrow, not rage, just relief. She might still talk about me to her friends. Might tell a version of the story where I was distant, too passive, hard to love. Let her. I'm not responsible for the fiction she tells to soften the truth, because the truth is, I was never hard to love. I was just easy to use. Until I wasn't. It's strange how little I think about her now. Back then, she was everywhere. In the corners of my apartment, in the pauses between songs, in the way I second-guess myself before saying anything out loud. But now, she's a ghost with no face. Not frightening. Not haunting. Just quiet. Background noise I've long since tuned out. I saw a photo of her recently, purely by accident. A friend had shared a group picture on their story, and she was in the back. Still beautiful. Still polished. But there was something different in her face. Not sadness, just vacancy. Like someone who thought they'd win every game they played, until someone flipped the board. I didn't feel anything when I saw it. Not longing, not anger. If anything, I felt gratitude, because that photo reminded me of how far I'd come, not in miles, but in mindset. Back then, I would have studied the image, zoomed in on her smile, tried to read something in her posture, wondered who she was with, and what it meant. Now, I swiped past it in 2 seconds, because she no longer holds a pen. She's not the narrator anymore. I am. Karina and I started seeing each other more often. It wasn't a whirlwind. No fireworks or late-night confessions. It was slower, better, safe, and not that I don't feel anything so it must be safe. Kind of safe. The kind that makes you breathe easier without realizing you've been holding your breath. One evening, she asked me something. We were sitting on the floor eating takeout, surrounded by open windows and soft music. She said, "What made you finally walk away?" I thought about it. Not about the betrayal. Not about the words. Not about the nightclubs or the lies. I thought about the silence. The silence she left me in. The kind where I realized she was never going to see me. Not really. So I said, she wasn't the villain, but she stopped being kind. And I stopped shrinking. Karina nodded slowly, like she understood exactly what I meant. She didn't ask for more, and I didn't need to explain. Sometimes people ask why I don't block my ex, why I don't delete every trace of her existence. But the truth is, I don't need to, because she's no longer a threat. She's no longer the center of any story I'm telling. She's just a chapter with a thin bookmark. When I no longer open, I'm not trying to heal anymore. I already did. I'm not building a new life to prove a point. This is just my life now. And it finally feels like mine. Whatever she's doing, wherever she is, I hope she's learning. I hope she's growing. But it's no longer my job to watch. Some people need you to stay broken so they can feel strong. And when you walk away, you take their illusion with you. She's still stuck in the story where I needed her. But I've already written my ending. And spoiler alert, he didn't go back. It hit me the other day. How much time I used to spend trying to be someone she wouldn't leave. Not someone I liked. Not someone I even recognized. Just someone good enough for her to stay. I dressed different. Spoke softer. Laughed less. Apologized more. And for what? She still left long before I did. Only difference is I left on my feet. People talk a lot about heartbreak, like it's one big moment. But mine wasn't. It was slow. It was brushing crumbs off the table before she got home, so she wouldn't sigh. It was biting my tongue every time she interrupted. It was flinching when she called me lazy in front of her friends, then laughing it off so I didn't ruin the mood. It was small deaths, daily, until there was nothing left of me but the parts she found convenient. And then I left, not with a scream, not with a scene, just with a bag, a laptop, and a decision. And somehow, that quiet act of leaving did what all my words never could. It told the truth, loudly. I don't need closure from her. Not a sit-down talk. Not a carefully written apology. Not an awkward coffee that ends with 4 smiles. And maybe we can still be friends. No, thank you. Because she was a lesson, not the loss. And I learned it. All of it. I learned that being quiet doesn't mean being weak. I learned that loyalty means nothing to people who see it as default. I learned that the people who shame you for being too sensitive are usually the ones who never earned your softness in the first place. And most of all, I learned that you can walk away from someone without hating them and never, ever walk back. Karina and I aren't official. We haven't put labels on anything. But we share things, dinners, playlists, silences that don't need to be filled. She listens. She doesn't flinch when I go quiet. She doesn't make me feel like I need to explain my worth every 5 minutes just to earn a smile. It's simple. And right now, simple feels sacred. I passed my old neighborhood last weekend. Not intentionally. Just a wrong turn that turned into the right reminder. I slowed down at the light, near our old building. For a moment, I looked up at the window we used to share. Lights off. No one home. And all I felt was nothing. Not grief. Not nostalgia. Just distance. Real, healthy, final distance. She probably still tells people I left without warning, that I disappeared. Maybe she makes herself the victim. The poor girl abandoned by the guy who was always a little off. Let her have her version. I have mine. And mine includes something she'll never touch again. Peace. They always expect noise. They expect you to slam the door, raise your voice, write bitter posts online. They expect drama. But I didn't give her that. I gave her silence. And that silence, it echoed louder than any shouting ever could. I didn't leave to hurt her. I didn't leave to teach her a lesson. I left because I was done teaching someone how to treat me. I left because I was tired of shrinking. Because I finally understood, if someone makes you feel hard to love, it's only because they never learned how to love gently. She never messaged again after that last time. Maybe she got the hint. Maybe someone new came along. It doesn't matter. She's just a name now. A memory that doesn't sting. A chapter one don't reread. The people in my life now, they know me, not the version I used to perform. Not the filtered personality I wore to survive. Me, awkward, thoughtful, quiet, but full of fire when I need to be. I don't beg anymore. I don't explain my value. I don't wait around for people to choose me halfway. Sometimes Karina and I walk the city at night. No plans. No pressure. We talk about stupid things. Movies we liked. Tech we hate. Where we'd go if we could just disappear for a year. She doesn't ask me to be anyone. She just lets me be. And for someone like me, that's everything. If I could talk to the version of myself who sat on that old apartment floor, watching her get ready to go out, the one who thought staying was safer than being alone, I'd say this: you won't regret walking away. You'll only regret not doing it sooner. You'll survive without her. And one day, you'll even thank her for showing you who you never want to be again. This isn't a revenge story. It's a freedom story. It's the story of a man who stopped waiting to be seen and started seeing himself. She didn't think I would leave, but I did, and I never looked back.